What is bunny hop really all about? For me, when I first started playing, it was all about the fulfillment of finishing the map. In this tutorial, I'm not only going to explain how to complete the map, but teach you how to do it correctly. Unlike other game modes in Gary's mod, bunny hop isn't something where you can connect to a random server and start playing. You could start off with the default settings, but it would be a good idea to tweak things here and there in order to make life a bit easier. Since bunny hop is all about strafing, we'll start out with our mouse settings. Click Options and then go to Mouse. Make sure you have mouse filter enabled, since this smooths out mouse movement over 2 frames and it really helps you with your bunny hop experience. If you have a good mouse that, for example, has a custom control panel where you can configure your DPI, then enable raw input. For mouse acceleration, make sure you have it disabled because it really results in unstable mouse movement in game. Your mouse sensitivity is entirely personal preference. I've got mine set to 3.21 because I have a semi-low DPI. So it will result in pretty smooth mouse movement in game. Usually as low as possible is the best you can get. Now, if you have a graphics card where you get lower FPS in game, you might have to change some of the video settings here to get better FPS. I don't need that because I usually get 300 FPS. If you've watched older tutorials, then maybe your FPS max, they told you to set your FPS max to 34.8. This is no longer required if you're not going to be scrolling. And since most servers have auto hop nowadays, you can simply leave it at 300. Now, we're ready with the configuration. Let's find a good server to play on. There's quite a few servers nowadays here that you can find on the server list. But most of them run on 66 tick or either have a bad game mode where you cannot crouch properly. I'm not going to pick one of these. Their ping is good, which is also important for this when you select your server to play on. The lower ping the better. If you have something above 200, you're going to get unreliable results as well. So, I have a local server set up here where I get really good ping and I get to set it at any map I want. I think Be Up Legion is a very good map to start out with. So, let's join it. Alright, here we are. Like I just said, the whole purpose of bunny hop is to get to the end of the map. Now this is the first level, so we'll have to complete it to proceed. If you just jump on this, normally you're probably not going to make it. And if you want to run, like stop on the block and continue from there, we can because the block simply disappears. Now it disappears because this is a single hop map. There's 2 different kinds of bunny hop maps, single hop and multi-hop. Multi-hop, the block will simply stay and you can actually like keep on jumping on it. I'll get to that later on in more detail. Now this is single hop, so what you have to do is before it disappears you have to jump again to the next block and then from there you're going to continue the course. This used to be done with scrolling. Scrolling is actually just jumping but made easier. People bind their mouse wheel down to plus jump. This is still a smart idea to do because you might need it for other types of maps, and because of what I'm used to, I find it nice to be able to jump with just scrolling up once. So what they did was just jump, jump, jump. That's still going to be pretty difficult now to make this course, because we're not actually gaining speed in the air. For that you need strafing. Now, about the scrolling, nowadays there's auto hop. You can just simply hold down your spacebar and you will keep on jumping, and it will always be a perfect jump. If you're going to be scrolling, then you might not get off the ground quick enough, but with your spacebar key, it's always going to like put you back on in the air right away. With that, I'm going to try to explain how exactly strafing works because it's a very strange concept. Helping with this, I have an extra heads-up display in the bottom right corner that shows what keys I press, A and D, whether I'm moving my mouse to the left or to the right, as well as the W and S key and even my control, duck key, or space, jump key. Now, the strafes and the sync, I will get to that later. To first understand how strafing works, I'll explain that the engine this game is running on is the source engine, and in the source engine, some games come with a skill-based movement, which comes with air acceleration in its turn. Now, air acceleration means you can basically gain speed while you're in the air. For modern games like Call of Duty, this doesn't make a lick of sense, because you wouldn't gain speed when you're in the air. Now here, to understand it, I'm just going to hold space, I'm going to be jumping, and I'm going to press my A key. As you can see, I'm moving to the left, but really slowly. Now if I start moving my mouse to the left, you can see I'm actually picking up speed. In the bottom left corner, you can see my exact speed. That was because I was in the start zone and you can't leave it with that much speed. Now, this is the same for if you're going to the right, you press D, and you move your mouse to the right. In the heads-up display in the bottom right corner, you can see I've aligned them. So, when they're both red, that's when you're actually accelerating. That's what you gotta do. First, we'll actually have to gain some speed to begin this, and when we're in the air, we're gonna press A and D. Now, you're probably not gonna be able to do it like that so easily, but really all you have to do is just press the right key and move your mouse. You're gonna practice that a couple times, and it will start to make more sense, and you just kinda have to get the feeling for it. Now, we're just gonna go on with the map and try to complete these courses. They're pretty simple, so you can just do it like this. If you notice you're getting too much speed, because of the auto hop giving you, like, not allowing you to lose speed, you can try to skip blocks, like that. See, I didn't jump on these. But you can also try to master your strafes in order to actually curve down to the right block, like this. Might be easier to actually skip these blocks because these are really easy and simple obstacles. Well, let's just continue the map. See, these go up, that's simple too. Okay. Now, we've arrived at the surf. This is something that you can get easily stuck at because people don't really know what to do. I'm going to explain two ways. For bunny up obstacles, there's almost always different ways to approach it. For this, there's two different ones that I know of. First, I'm going to start with the native one, this surf. If you go down like this, you're not going to get too much speed. You're not going to be able to make it to this block. So we have to stay on the surf for a longer time, because what this surf does is, it actually gives you speed. If you go down like this and you press your S key, you will cancel out the movement because you're actually going forward, and S is the exact opposite of your forward key. Now this is the same if you're going to this side, you're actually going to the left. So if you press your A key, you're going to go down. If you press your D key, you're going to cancel out the movement. This is the same for this side, but you press A. Alright, now let's get back up. Using this, we can actually stay on the surf for a longer time. So if you go down and press D, you can see right at the bottom, you're down to about 600 speed, which is a lot more than if you do it normally, you get about 300. So using this and holding our D key, we can actually go here, but then we'll have to strafe to the left there. So like this. That was pretty easy. Now, like I said, there's always multiple different ways to make it across. Now for this, you can also use a method called pre-speeding. Here we were previously just jumping from platform to platform, which gives you speed. Like this. If you want to get speed on this part, you can jump multiple times on there, you can even stand on it. So we're just going to use what we just learned and jump off. Sometimes you're going to make it, sometimes you won't. You need approximately 600 velocity, like you can see at the bottom there. There, easy. Now you might have heard that you can also use plus left for moving, and then you can simply press A. This will accelerate you really quickly, but some servers block it, like this one. It stops my timer. Plus left was originally used with scrolling, because scrolling makes you lose speed when you jump on the ground. Now with auto hop, you will never lose speed, so having a method like this would be a little bit overpowered, and it will make bunny hop a lot easier, but actually too easy. And if you just practice pre-speeding like this, it's all going to help with your strafing. It's going to make your strafing better, and you're going to be able to complete maps easier. Now, let's just do this last course. Now we're going to go on to the more difficult parts of the map. Alright, as you can see, there's another surf here, but this one is slightly different. Instead of what we just did, going down to maximize our speed, we're actually going to do this halfway, and then when you've reached this point, you're actually going to go back up, so that you gain more upward velocity. It's gonna look slightly like this. Don't go off too high because, yeah, you'll simply go too high and you won't be able to make it to the end. But go somewhat like this to make it. Now if you find this confusing, you can look at the keys I'm pressing and what direction I'm looking. It's essentially the same as when you're in the air, but then just the opposite key of the side of the surf you're facing. Okay, now for this, you can see the distance to the next part is just a lot higher, so you have to pre-speed a little bit. Now for this, you have to just have very smooth strafes. If you don't strafe enough, you're not going to get enough speed, you're not going to be able to make it to this part. So simply do it like that. Okay, here you can see that there is very tiny blocks, and it's going to be difficult to hit them at first until you kind of figure out how to control your strafes. If you hit them going forward, it's going to be a lot more difficult, so I suggest you complete this part going like this. Alright, now here's another surf. The only difference here is that there's more blocks and we'll have more speed. So for the last few, you just have to make very wide strafes in order to make it to the next part. Okay. Now this is, in my opinion, the hardest part of the whole map, if you're doing it normally. If you're doing it like this, you'll have to kind of figure out how the surf leaves you, and you have to hit the block right. Now again, there's two different ways to do this. You can actually pre-speed to about 600, 700 velocity and do this part like this. It's not intended to do it like that, but with auto hop a lot of new possibilities open up on older maps. If you want to do this thing right, then when you come off the surf like this, you're gonna lose a lot of speed. So when you're pressing your D key here, simply hold it until you get to the next surf, and then press the right key for the surf, and then the last one, make sure you come off right. Like that. Okay, now on this part, it's going to look a little bit strange. There's a bar here and you have to go underneath it, but in order to go underneath it, you have to actually hit your head into this bar and you'll get slammed down a lot quicker than you normally would. I'll try to show you right now. As you can see, my head just completely got bashed in, and miraculously I'm still alive. Well, it's going to be a little bit strange, and you don't have a lot of time to get to the next block, but simply don't freak out and continue with the course. There's another one here which is a little bit more different. You have to hit the block on the very edge in order to actually make it over. What I usually do is go straight to there, because with the amount of speed you have, it's going to be difficult to hit that block right there. Still possible, but I think it's easier to go straight here. Alright, in the next part of the map you're going to encounter a booster. This is basically just going to speed your character up, and you have to use that speed to make it to this block and then do the rest of the course. Now the first block is very far away, and then here you can see the blocks are actually closer. Now, having this much speed, it's useful to get fast times, but it's also going to be hard to manage your speed, and as you can see, you sometimes overjump the blocks. Now, to fight that, you have to lose speed. There's several different ways of losing speed. You have one where you press S, but that's not going to be of much help. So you're going to have to do it with your air acceleration in the air. When you normally strafe, you're going to gain speed when you press the right keys. Now, to cancel out a little bit of speed, you have to make very sharp strafes. So if you do very sharp strafes, you won't get much speed. Now if you do that when you're right here, if you simply do like this, you'll see I lost most of the speed that I got from the booster. Now I'm building up speed again, so you can simply do it like that again, but it's unreliable for the most. Now if you're growing into strafing more and understanding how it works, then this is a lot better technique. You simply, for every block that you hit, you can go back and do the same thing over and over, just pressing your keys like this. You're going to go a lot more manageable speeds, and you're actually going to be able to complete this course normally. Now, this is a very good part to practice that. You can see there's a lot of different ways to do it. and by simply trying them all out and just doing it a lot of times, you will get more familiar with doing this part normally. I think that's about it for the mwheelup tutorial, the basic one. If you want to learn more, then I suggest you check out the advanced video as well. Alright, thank you for watching.